Okay.
You are coming from the architecture and design. What do you think that you are living in a city, I want to be the leader of a city that don't have downtown?
Okay, so the fact that we don't have a downtown is one of the big reasons I want to run for mayor, because like I mentioned earlier, the mayor, my job will not be substantially different than it is today as a council member. My number one priority is still going to be handling constituent services requests, but as the mayor, you get the bully pulpit and you get to set the vision for the future of the city. And I think that that's something that we've really been missing. Like, we are a city of almost 400,000 people. We don't have a downtown, and I think that that's embarrassing. There are cities that are half our size that have downtowns with skylines, they have sports teams, they have a bunch of other activities. And the fact that we don't is just simply one of a lack of political will and a lack of vision. So I can tell you, as a council member, I've already had conversations with a lot of developers here who, believe it or not, they want to build affordable housing. They want to build affordable commercial spaces, and they want to help us make a downtown happen. It's just that they have not had a mayor, I guess, and a council that actually wanted to enter into a public-private partnership to make it happen. Because this kind of development is expensive, as I'm sure folks can guess, especially now with interest rates and the high cost of construction, but we can do it. And, I see a huge opportunity to do this, not just to build a downtown, just to say we have one, but to build one that is walkable, that is human scale, that is livable for our residents, where you don't need to have a car. And I would love to see us anchor it with a cultural and performing arts center, which a city of our size desperately needs, especially a city with our richness of diversity and different cultures and languages and arts and dance. I see a tremendous opportunity to really recatalyze our city, to build a positive reputation, and to have something really unique, not just in the metro, but in this part of the country.
But do you have an idea? Where do you
dream?
Where?
Oh my God, where? I would love to have this happen right across from City Hall. There's a big undeveloped tract of land there. We have the R-Line light rail station. We're right next to the Aurora Mall there. Obviously, you're next to the city's the center, so you have the police, the courts, and City Hall there, and then you have the Aurora Town Center across, from that with the Super Target and all of that. So I would love to see, my vision for that area is a downtown that looks a little maybe like Barcelona. Don't think downtown Denver, think like Barcelona. So 6-7 story human scale developments with mixed uses. So you have residential on top of businesses, maybe some office space down there. We'll see how that market kind of pans out. That with with nice pedestrian sheds, with plazas and places for public activities. I would love to see us eventually have a pedestrian connection over Alameda and over Sable to get over to the Aurora Mall, because I think the mall is also, you're going to see some changes there. They're going to add housing, they're going to add restaurants, hotels, and things outside of the mall. So it'll become like a lifestyle center, I think is what the industry likes to call it. And I would love to then see another pedestrian bridge to get over Alameda to connect to the town center. So if you can imagine that 4-block area right there on Alameda and Sable, that's going to be our downtown. We just need to start on that right path with the land right across from City Hall. I can see that being built out nicely, and it'll really trigger a lot of other positive redevelopment. We'll add more housing, more commercial spaces, and more things for people to do. And it'll turn our city into a regional draw that's already connected to really good public transportation and right off the highway as well.
But before fulfilling this dream, if you are maybe in a convention, and then you are having an informal conversation with a person, what places do you recommend for them to visit in Aurora? What are the iconic places at this moment in Aurora?
Today, and I've done this already, when folks want to visit Aurora, the first place we go to is Havana, on the Havana Business Improvement District, because I love to eat, if you can't tell by looking at me. And one of the things I love about this part of the city and representing Ward 4 is that we have the best food in the state, hands down, right here. When folks are looking for something a little different, if they want to see what a really good quality redevelopment can look like, let's go to the Stanley, right? I think it's a really unique offering in Aurora and in the entire Denver metro. So that's a place I like to show off as well, because you have all these little different eateries, and you have a lot of little boutique businesses, and everything's a little unique, right? So I think it's a really great way to show off, a different aspect of the city. And special shout out there to Mason's Dumplings, which is not in the Stanley Marketplace, but it's right next to it, and that is hands down the best dumplings in town. So y'all got to check that place out. If people want to see what the future of Aurora is going to look like, at least up in Ward 1. I think going out to the Anschutz campus is a nice place for folks to visit as well. So we have the Benson Hotel there. It's gorgeous. So it just opened a couple of months ago. And then you have a bunch of new housing with some ground floor retail there as well. And that area, y'all, over the next decade or two is going to really build out. And we're going to end up with the second largest biosciences medical center basically in the country, next to Houston, who actually has the largest one currently. So there's a lot of things that are popping in Aurora.
Is there this dumpling restaurant is the best for you, or what is the best restaurant for Juan Marcano in Aurora?
The best restaurant, period. Okay, I gotta give it actually to Sushi Katsu. My wife and I love sushi, and this is a thing that we anytime we would go out to eat, we would try to go to a different place, right? But that's part of the reason why actually I ended up moving to Aurora, because my wife and I, we had a lot of friends out here, or have a lot of friends out here, number one. But number two, we find ourselves driving here from Englewood, which is where we used to live before we moved here like a decade ago. We find ourselves driving out here all the time to eat dinner. So it was like, you know what, we may as well just save gas mileage and time and just move to the spot that we find ourselves in all the time. And we ended up moving to this part of town. So I live off of Iliff and 225 because we're really close to all of the really good food, and also right next to public transportation, which I used to use to get downtown before I ran for office, and my wife did as well. So Sushi Katsu is the spot for me.
You were born in the land of the salsa, reggaeton, and all of these written with different. But what do you prefer of that? This is between salsa and reggaeton. What do you like?
Reggaeton. I'm much more of a reggaetonero. I like hip hop, so I love that fusion of like Latin, music with kind of like American hip hop, which is what reggaeton is to me. So.
Do you have Bad Bunny in your car?
I don't have Bad Bunny, but I have Calle 13. I was actually just listening to Latino America on the way here. It's one of my favorite songs. It came out like 12 years ago, but it's one of those that like sticks in your heart, But Atrévete, come on, you can't.
But at the moment of dancing, what do you like? What rhythm do you like to dance?
Okay, you're gonna get me. I'm gonna lose my puertorriqueño card here porque verdaderamente no me gusta bailar mucho, pero me gusta tocar música. Así que, como te dije, yo puedo tocar la viola y el violín también, pero no me gusta bailar mucho porque me da como. I get shy.
Have you tried playing viola or violin with Aurora Symphonic Orchestra?
I have not, because I'm not that good at it. I have to practice a lot more. It's something that I do when I have a chance. But living in an apartment is too much noise, so I don't want to, disturb my neighbors and stuff like that. So.
What is your greatest activity during your free time? When you have free time?
When I have free time, oh gosh. So I'm a big nerd, and my favorite thing to do is actually get together with my wife and my friends and play Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm a dungeon master, so I run the game. And honestly, it's one of those things that like being a dungeon master actually prepared me for some parts of public office, because D&D is basically a game where you run a meeting. Right? And so it's very easy to chair committees or frankly to chair a council meeting with that same skill set. So it's just basically keeping people on task, but engaging in creative problem solving and storytelling. So it's a very fun activity.
You had to spend 4 times meeting Mike Kaufman.
Yeah.
What is the thing the principal thing that you disagree with him or from him?
There is not a principal thing. There's a lot of things. So I'll tell you.
Give me one.
Oh my God. Just one? Okay. I think the biggest one right now is the how we address homelessness. And it's something that really frustrates me because he misled people about the solution to homelessness, that we were going to have this camping ban and it was going to fix the problem. It absolutely has not. It's wasting $2 million, a little over that, every year now just to push people around the city. And what's frustrating is I actually took him to Houston, not just him, but a couple of my colleagues from council, people from Denver, Adams County, and Arapahoe County, to go to Houston because Houston has reduced homelessness by over 60% over the last 11 years. And they're by far the city that has had the most success in this country of addressing this problem. So we reached out to them, they agreed to host us. We went there for 2 days. And they basically gave us their entire game plan. Here's how we did it. Here's how you can do it too. And then he decided not to do that here because he wanted to have this campus and modeled after what Colorado Springs is doing, where their homelessness rate is actually increasing, just like ours is. So it's very frustrating because it's like you have a example of how to fix the problem in front of you, and he just chose to completely ignore it so he could do his own thing. And I just don't understand why he would do that, because it's a waste of taxpayer money, and frankly, we're continuing to hurt these people who need help, and we're able to help them, we're just choosing not to.
But give me one positive element of Mike Kaufman performance. One thing.
He brought us together in opposition to the Strong Mayor initiative. So I'll give him credit for that. But seriously, I will say that on the water conservation standpoint, he did listen to city staff, and he then became the prime sponsor of a forward-facing water use and water conservation plan for new development. And I was very excited to see him do that. Now we just have to make that retroactive and help our residents with grants to ensure that we don't run ourselves out of water by watering too many lawns in our city. But I do think that was something where he did the right thing on.
Okay, please. What is talking about marketing or signature? What Juan Marcano would like to be remembered after finishing 1, 2, or 3 term as a mayor?
Yeah. My legacy, I hope, would be 1, the creation of a proper downtown for the city, 2, the establishment of a performing arts and cultural center, and 3, the creation of a social housing program for our residents so that everyone has high quality housing in the city.
What is your solution for homelessness in Aurora?
My solution to homelessness really is modeled after what Houston, Texas and Helsinki, Finland have done, and that is permanent supportive housing to scale. And permanent supportive housing is not just an apartment or a home and good luck. It is complete wraparound services. So you have a case manager, behavioral health specialist, mental health specialist, job training, whatever people need at the rate that they're willing to accept it. And this program, this approach is so much less expensive than what we are currently doing. Houston spends about $19,000 per year per person. In the Denver metro, we spend between $40,000 and $80,000 per year per person, sweeping them around. They get in trouble with the police. They end up in emergency rooms as for their primary health care. Sometimes they'll stay in a shelter. Sometimes they get swept again. It's just a mess. So we need to focus in, consolidate the strategy, build regional collaboration and will to do that as a region. That's how Houston's been successful, and I know that we can do the same thing with the right kind of leadership in Aurora, and that's why I'm running for mayor.
But it's important to keep prohibiting prohibiting the camps.
Yeah.
Is
So here's the thing, right? What we're currently doing is we're prohibiting the camps.
Okay.
And we go and we sweep them, and then what happens? The camp goes across the street, or they go over to Cherry Creek Park, or they end up in Tollgate Creek, or they end up at the Jewel Wetlands. What I want to do when we close a camp, that's what Houston calls it. They don't call them sweeps, they call them close. When we close a camp, it's not because we're just telling people, well, you don't have a home, but you can't stay here. It's, we have a place for you. You're willing to come with us, right? Great, solid. We're going to take you into a permanent supportive housing unit, and then we're going to close the camp. And those people then don't end up on the other side of the highway the next night, because we actually address their core issue, which is the lack of a home, right? Homelessness. But we also connect them with all of these other services and build that trust and good rapport with them. And the thing with Houston, y'all, is that it has a 90% success rate after 2 years. 90%. Nothing we're doing here comes close.
Yeah, but in the case of Houston, they start developing units before the crisis. Mm-hmm. What is different in Houston? Why they have been successful in avoiding camps on the streets?
Because the thing that they do is they don't just sweep the camp and then big people pop up in another camp across the highway or across the street the next day. They actually put people into housing, and they have very aggressively used even private sector housing, right? So this isn't like Section 8 housing or public housing. Basically, they'll use market rate housing to put people in. And then one of the things that they've done also is they disaggregate the population. So like one of the things that a lot of places do, it's like, oh, well, we're going to put everyone in this one building. That, compounds a lot of the trauma. Sometimes these people, just like we might not get along with some of our neighbors, people who are experiencing homelessness, they also don't get along with people who are, out in that community. So it disaggregates the population. You connect them with services, with, like I mentioned, behavioral health, mental health services, job training, and things of that nature. And that's what sets people up for success. But the key thing is you have to have a permanent place. You have to treat these people with dignity and respect, just like any of the rest of us would want. Give them autonomy. That makes them more successful in the long run. And you have to have a commitment to the strategy, and you have to scale it up. Because at the end of the day, this is a math problem. Our economy is producing homelessness every year, right? We know that more and more people fall into homelessness every year. There's a direct correlation between the cost of rents, wages remaining stagnant, and that increasing. So we have to build housing. We have to use the existing housing that we have to help house these folks. And we need to provide them with the services to keep them in that housing. Because as I mentioned earlier, it is so much less expensive. It's far cheaper for us to keep people in this housing, in permanent supportive housing, than it is to do what we currently do today.
But what happened with the short term? What to do with the current camps in Aurora?
Yeah, there's no short-term answer to this. So, and like permanent supportive housing is actually a pretty quick answer, because it's as quickly as we can stand up a program to recruit landlords that are willing to, have folks become tenants from coming off the street to become tenants. And then just redirecting the funding. Like I mentioned, we're spending $2.1 million a year just cleaning out the camps. I'd rather put that money into putting these people into housing, because what we're currently doing is we're sweeping the same people over and over and over again. So it doesn't make any sense financially to do that. There's not a quick and easy solution to this. We didn't get into this problem at this scale overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight either. Like I mentioned, Houston has reduced their population by 60+%, but it's taken them 11 years to do that. The good news is that our homeless numbers in Aurora are much lower than Houston's. So it shouldn't take us quite as long to do it, but it's still going to take us some time. But anyone who's promising you a quick and easy fix is lying to you. It's not possible. But we can get there if we commit to the strategy and we scale it up to basically address the equation, right? If we have 600 people experiencing homelessness, we know 60 more will become homeless in a year. Well, we need to ensure that we're able to house, let's say, 100 people a year, so that we can beat the amount of new people who are becoming homeless and reduce the existing amount as well. It's that simple. It's a math problem.
Despídete en español.
Okay. Muchas gracias por su tiempo. Marcano, Marcano. Y espero que voten por mí en este noviembre. Muchas gracias por su tiempo otra vez. Cuídense.